This is probably my first live stream, and what I want to do, I'm probably going to be streaming for about an hour, so hopefully some of you guys will tune in. But I want to introduce myself officially. My name is Victor Zubin. I am an author and an upcoming entrepreneur, and I have been writing since 2022. My first book was The Story of My Life, where I talk about my biography. I was born with cerebral palsy, so um, that's why you see me always in a sitting position mostly when I record my videos. Also, well, like I said before, I am an author, so I have written quite a few books. Not all of them are published, but the ones that are published were basically my training wheels. So they're still on Amazon, but they're out of stock. I don't know how to get them in stock again, probably because of the low demand that was there. And yeah, so that's a little bit of a background on me. I am a Christian, an evangelical Baptist to be precise. I believe in Jesus Christ. He's my Lord and Savior, and if you guys have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them as best as I can. So today I wanted to talk a little bit more about my book that I recently wrote called God and Money. You probably have seen it in my quote unquote advertisements that I tried to do, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. So the reason why I wrote it is because I have noticed that a lot of Christians, especially in the Christian community that I'm a part of, they want to do all these great things in the name of Jesus Christ, but the logistical side of it is uh, lagging behind considerably. So I thought to myself, why not try to increase the financial literacy of the church? And then, as a result of that, people would be able to do more for God that way because they have more excess cash to spend. And instead of spending it on their lifestyle, they might spend it going on missionary trips, amongst other things. And if you have not seen my book yet, I'll just show you real quick. So this is what it looks like once again. I believe I showed it to you. Um, hopefully I can. There you go. Hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, so I wanted to show you that. And um, a lot of the vast majority of the book is spent on talking about the mindset of a typical Christian that I came across. So this is my personal experience. Please don't take it to heart, but what I've noticed is that many Christians, they use the Bible as a coping mechanism to explain why they're in a less fortunate financial situation. So they say things like, I have God, I don't need money. Uh, and then they use Bible verses like, um, in by the sweat of your brow you shall make your bread, which is found in Genesis chapter 3, verse 19, 18 or 19, if I'm not mistaken. And so people use that verse as justification to work long hours that are very brutal and very physically demanding. And so to kind of cope with their tiredness or not, like lack of knowledge or not knowing how to proceed from there, they say things like, by the sweat of your brow you shall make your bread. And so they're sort of using it to cope with their situation. So my hope with my book is to shatter a whole bunch of these mindset limiters that people place upon themselves, especially Christians. I know that not all Christians think this way, but I've met a few that do, and it kind of drives me crazy a little bit. So that's the hope with the book. Another thing that I've noticed is that people in general want to make a lot of money, but they don't want to take any risk. So they're looking for how to make money very quickly, but also with the lowest risk possible. But that's not how the world generally works. You have to either have very high education and by that make a lot of money, or you have to take on a very large amount of risk and the success is not guaranteed, but you will make a lot of money if you succeed. So that's the very basic plan that I kind of figured out. And in my book, I already outlined like a blueprint sort of thing. And you have probably seen it in most of my one of my shorts that I did. My hope with that is at least some people will take inspiration and try to change their lives. Because another thing that annoys me is that people will often complain about their circumstances and then not change anything about it that is in their control. And so they then just sit in the same miserable situation for years and then complain about things that they cannot control. So my hope is that mindset slowly changes. I know it's probably going to take a very long time, but that is my hope and my goal with the book. And I will be giving a promotional code like a week later on the 29th of August. It's a 75% off of my book. So hopefully those of you who did not want to buy it because the price was too high, now you don't have that excuse anymore. You won't have that excuse. So hopefully some of you will buy it and your life will improve because of it. That's the whole goal of the book. my my sort of philosophy on um Christians and how to bring people to God is very, very basic. In terms of, I think of it like this: you have to, if you have never had any experience with Jesus or anything like that, then the very basic premise should be, if before I met Christ my life was horrible, then when I meet Christ my life should get better across the board. So that is my sort of premise, because if you if you have been in the faith for a very long time and your life hasn't gotten better, that means you're probably doing something wrong. Not in terms of faith, but you're not putting any effort to make your life better. That's what I mean. Um, because I have recently watched a movie called Facing the Giants, and in that movie, the main character is Taylor Grant or something like that. He's a football coach, and uh, there are multiple scenes in that movie where he's not a believer, he's not a Christian, and they clearly show his life falling apart. His wife is struggling to get pregnant, and his car is breaking down. The stove is not working, so they can't eat spaghetti. Uh, the car is constantly breaking down. The team, the football team, is falling apart because the best player in that team transferred to another one, to a rival team. So I bring this up to um, show that clearly in that movie, before he met Jesus, everything was falling apart, and after he met Jesus, his somebody gifted him a new car. The relationship within the team improved dramatically. His salary got increased dramatically, like doubled, or even two and a half times, by two and a half times. And his wife was finally able to get a baby and conceive a child. I bring this up to say that if you are a believer, your life should uh, change dramatically, not only on the inside but on the outside also. So if you have not experienced that, then you should strive to change your life. Another thing that I noticed is that when reading the Bible, we meet these Bible heroes that are they're usually nicknamed Bible heroes. So like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? And um, what I've noticed is that let's take Abraham for example. When we first meet him, he's a 75-year-old man with a wife. And I bring this up to say that he lived a whole life before we met him. So that means that he probably grinded to get all his cattle and all his sheep and most of his gold and stuff. Because in chapter 13 of Genesis, it is stated that he has a lot of gold and silver and shepherds and stuff. So he probably grinded for a very long time to get those sheep and shepherds and stuff. And also with Jacob, he grinded 14 years to get his two wives and 6 years to get his cattle. Um, so I bring this up all to say that all these people, they grinded first, and then they were able to use those resources to um, glorify God. Another thing that kind of baffles me about Christians is that they don't leave bad situations, or they decide to stay in them for some weird reason. Um, there are a lot of examples in the Bible where there was a famine, and and the person decided to leave that region and then come back later. So one of these examples is Abraham in chapter 12 of Genesis, and then in the first chapter of Ruth, the Amalek, I think his name is, I'm not sure, but he left Bethlehem because there was a famine, and he left to go to the land of Moab. So I say all this to say, if you're in a bad situation and you don't like it, then you should leave. So if you have a job that you don't like and it pays very little and you don't like it, you go find a different one that pay, pays better and make your life a little bit better. That's the whole point I'm trying to make here. Another thing that baffles me is that um sometimes Christians take things too literally. I will give you an example. So the the parable of the rich fool who said in his heart that I have all these uh, harvests and it will last me for years to come. And he said to his heart, rejoice, my heart, drink and eat your fill. And then God says, uh, tonight your soul will be taken from you. So, using that parable, Christians often say that what's the point of getting rich, because then God can take you um, and then you will leave it all, right? But what I'm trying to say is reverse engineer it, because before he had a full harvest and he stored all in his granaries, right? And so he already had full granaries, which means the first time around, which means that it was he had enough food to last a full year until the next harvest. And so he had extra left over, and instead of giving it to the poor or the ones in need, he decided to store it all So maybe it was like a 2 years worth of harvest or something like that. Maybe I'm just throwing numbers out there. I'm not sure. It doesn't say in the Bible, but he decided to store it all and build new granaries that store more. And so he decided to do that. That showed his greed and his desire for more things when he had more than enough already. So I say this to say that greed only shows up when you have more than enough already. So right now, if you're struggling to pay your bills and whatnot, then you have no need to worry about greed and stuff because you're just trying to survive. If once you get out of that, then you may need to worry about it eventually, but not really. Because greed, in its truest form, comes out when you have like millions of dollars on the table that are offered. So if you're making like 120,000 a year, then like greed is still could be prevalent because you're spending it more on your lifestyle and stuff. So you just gotta fix that. But it's still like fixable. You know what I mean? Like real or like the more prevalent greed comes when you have millions of dollars on the table that are offered and you take it for the sake of your reputation, for the sake of your friends and your family. So you take money instead of preserving those relationships. Once again, the all that I've been talking to you guys about is basically excerpts from my book that I'm continuously trying to promote on my channel here. And my hope with that is that you guys, your lives would get better because of it. Uh, do you guys have any questions for me? I hope that even when this clip goes on YouTube, you guys can type it in the comments and ask me any questions that you guys might have. I will answer it to the best of my ability, and hopefully we'll have a fruitful discussion about multitude of things. Um I want to thank you, all those people that have watched my videos till the end, or not my videos, my shorts rather, because that really helps me. And to those people that constantly leave me comments and want to point something out or talk about something, I highly appreciate that. Thank you very much. So I know that I kind of planned it for an hour or so, but I think I'm gonna end it here because, um, and I hope that we'll have a good discussion afterwards. All right, thank you, and I will see you guys tomorrow. All right, goodbye.